Discover the secret taught by Jesus to overcome any difficulty. Bible wisdom. Have you ever faced a battle that seemed impossible to win? A moment when everything around you was crashing down and you couldn't see a way forward? Today, we're going to discover the secrets Jesus taught us about overcoming any difficulty. Secrets that have transformed millions of lives throughout history. This isn't just another motivational message. What makes this revelation special is that it comes directly from the greatest teacher who ever lived, and it's backed by thousands of years of proven success stories. Think about it. What if every challenge you're facing right now has a specific solution that Jesus already revealed? What if the answer you've been searching for has been hidden in plain sight all along? What if your current struggle is actually preparing you for something greater? I understand where you are. Maybe you're dealing with financial pressure that keeps you up at night. Perhaps it's a family situation that seems beyond repair, or it could be an emotional battle that no one else sees. Whatever your mountain looks like, I want you to know, you're not alone. In this video, you'll discover life-changing principles that have helped countless people move from crisis to victory. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they're practical, proven strategies that work in real-life situations. You'll learn how to turn your biggest challenges into stepping stone, access supernatural strength when you feel weakest, find peace even in the midst of the storm, transform your perspective on difficulties forever. By the end of this message, you'll have powerful tools that can completely change the way you face any challenge. You'll understand why certain struggles exist, and more importantly, how to overcome them with confidence. If you're going through something difficult right now, or if you know someone who is, type strength in the comments. Let's create a community of support right here, right now. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to see today. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could be the turning point you've been praying for. Are you ready to discover these life-changing secrets? Let's begin this journey together. Part 1. The Foundation of Victory. Have you ever wondered why some people emerge stronger from life's greatest challenges? What separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it? And most importantly, what did Jesus understand about victory that we often miss? Let me take you back to one of the most dramatic moments in biblical history, a story that perfectly illustrates the foundation of victory. Picture yourself in ancient Jerusalem, where a young shepherd boy named David stood before a giant that had terrorized an entire army. Goliath, the Philistine warrior, stood nearly 10 feet tall, covered in bronze armor, wielding weapons that would make modern soldiers tremble. For 40 days, this imposing figure had challenged the Israelite army, and not a single soldier dared to face him. The atmosphere was thick with fear and despair, but David saw something different. While everyone else focused on the giant's size, David focused on something far greater, the presence of God. In that moment, he demonstrated the first fundamental secret Jesus would later teach about overcoming any difficulty: understanding the true nature of our battles. When David approached King Saul to volunteer for battle, the king's reaction was predictable. "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth." How many times have we heard similar voices of doubt in our own battles? But listen to David's response. It reveals the foundation of all victory. "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion, and from the paw of the lion, and from the paw of the bear, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." David understood something profound that Jesus would later emphasize in his teachings. Our battles are not merely physical or emotional, they're spiritual at their core. This understanding transforms everything. When Jesus taught about overcoming difficulties, he consistently pointed to this same truth. Remember his words in John 16:33. "In this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Notice the pattern. Acknowledgement of the battle, but immediate focus on the greater power available to us. Think about your own struggles right now. Perhaps you're facing a financial Goliath, a relationship that seems beyond repair, or an emotional battle that feels overwhelming. Just as David saw beyond Goliath's physical size to God's greater power, Jesus teaches us to see beyond our immediate circumstances to the divine partnership available to us. What happened next in David's story is legendary. With just a sling and 5 smooth stones, he approached the giant. But here's what most people miss. David ran toward Goliath. He didn't wait or hesitate. This teaches us another crucial aspect of victory. Faith must be accompanied by action. The victory that followed wasn't just about a stone finding its mark. It was about a young man who understood the true nature of the battle. This same understanding would later be central to Jesus' teachings about overcoming any difficulty. But here's what makes this relevant to your life today. Just as David faced his giant with divine partnership, you have access to the same power. Jesus didn't just teach these principles, he demonstrated them throughout his ministry, showing us that victory isn't about our strength, but about our connection to God's power. This foundation of victory, understanding the true nature of our battles and embracing divine partnership, changes everything about how we face challenges. It's not about being the strongest, the smartest, or the most prepared. It's about knowing who stands with us. But understanding this foundation is just the beginning. What comes next is even more powerful. The practical tools Jesus gave us to activate this victory in our daily lives. As we continue, you'll discover how to apply these principles to any challenge you're facing. If this message is speaking to your heart, if you've ever felt like David facing a Goliath in your life, write giant in the comments below. Your story of victory might be closer than you think. Remember, what we've uncovered here is just the foundation. Stay with me because what comes next will show you exactly how to apply these principles to transform your biggest challenges into your greatest challenges, into your greatest victories. Part 2. The Core Secrets Revealed. Have you ever wondered why some battles in life seem impossible to overcome? What if I told you that Jesus revealed specific secrets that could transform your most challenging moments? And what if these ancient truths held the key to victory that many have overlooked? Let me take you back to a moment in history that changed everything. A scene that unfolded in the Garden of Gethsemane. Picture this. It's a cool evening in Jerusalem, the air heavy with tension. Jesus, knowing the ultimate battle he was about to face, retreats to pray. This wasn't just any ordinary prayer. It was a moment that would reveal the first and most powerful secret of overcoming life's greatest challenges. In the darkness of that garden, Jesus demonstrated something extraordinary. The weight of what he faced was unimaginable: betrayal, torture, and death. His humanity was evident as he sweat drops of blood, showing us that even he experienced intense struggle. But what he did next would become the blueprint for handling any difficulty we might face. The first secret Jesus revealed was the power of honest prayer. "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me," he prayed. Notice the raw honesty in his words. He wasn't pretending to be strong. He was being real with God. How often do we try to mask our true feelings when we pray? Jesus showed us that it's okay to express our fears and doubts to God. But the secret doesn't end there. In the same breath, Jesus uttered the words that would change everything. "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." This profound statement reveals the second core secret: complete surrender to God's purpose. It's in this surrender that we find our greatest strength. Think about the disciples during this moment. They were sleeping nearby, unaware of the spiritual battle taking place. How often do we too sleep through our moments of greatest opportunity for spiritual growth? Jesus demonstrated that victory often requires staying awake and alert in our spiritual life. The story continues to unfold as Judas approaches with the soldiers. Here, Jesus reveals another crucial secret: responding to betrayal with divine perspective. When Peter drew his sword, Jesus stopped him, showing us that our battles aren't won through human methods, but through spiritual power. What makes this moment so powerful is what happened next. After this intense spiritual battle in the garden, Jesus walked forward with unwavering resolve. He had found strength through surrender, peace through prayer, and power through submission to God's will. The very things that seemed like weakness became his source of victory. This brings us to a vital truth. Our greatest victories often come through our deepest surrenders, just as Jesus demonstrated in Gethsemane. When we align ourselves with God's purpose, we tap into a strength beyond our own capabilities. Consider this. What battle are you facing right now? What if, like Jesus in the garden, your current struggle is actually preparing you for your greatest victory? The secrets Jesus revealed weren't just for his moment in history. They're timeless principles that work in any situation, any century, any challenge. These secrets transformed not just that moment in history, but countless lives throughout time. Think of Paul in prison, writing letters of joy. Remember Daniel in the lion's den, emerging unharmed. Consider the early Christians facing persecution, yet spreading the gospel with boldness. Each one applied these same principles Jesus demonstrated. Before we move on to the next powerful secret, I want you to take a moment to reflect. If you're facing a significant challenge right now, type garden in the comments. Let's acknowledge together that just as Jesus found strength in Gethsemane, your garden moment could be the turning point in your story. You see, what happened in Gethsemane was just the beginning. Jesus would go on to reveal even more powerful truths about overcoming life's greatest challenges. And what he did next would demonstrate perhaps the most unexpected secret of all. Part 3. Practical application. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate life's storms with unwavering strength? What if I told you that the answer lies in a 2,000-year-old practice that's more relevant today than ever before? How can ancient wisdom transform our modern struggles into stepping stones for growth? Let me share a powerful story that illustrates this transformation. Picture Jerusalem around 33 AD. The city is buzzing with tension, and in an upper room we find Jesus' disciples, ordinary men about to face extraordinary challenges. Their world is about to be turned upside down, yet Jesus is teaching them something remarkable. In this intimate setting, Jesus reveals a practical framework for dealing with life's battles. But here's what makes this moment fascinating. He doesn't just give them theory. He demonstrates it through his own actions. Think about this. Just hours before facing the ultimate test at Gethsemane, Jesus shows us 3 essential practices that would become the foundation for overcoming any difficulty. First, he begins with morning preparation. The Gospels tell us that Jesus often rose before dawn to pray. This wasn't just a religious ritual. It was strategic spiritual positioning. In Mark 1:35, we read, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed." But here's what many people miss. This wasn't just about prayer. It was about establishing a morning routine that would fortify his spirit for the day ahead. Jesus was teaching us that victory doesn't start in the moment of battle. It begins in the quiet moments of preparation. The second practice he demonstrated was handling unexpected challenges. Remember when they brought him a woman caught in adultery? Everyone expected a straightforward condemnation, but Jesus showed us something profound. He paused. He wrote in the sand. He demonstrated that responding to challenges requires more than just reaction. It needs reflection. This brings us to the third practice, evening renewal. After feeding the 5,000, Jesus didn't immediately move to the next task. Instead, Matthew 14:23 tells us, after he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. This evening reflection wasn't just about ending the day. It was about processing, learning, and preparing for tomorrow. But here's where it gets really interesting. These practices weren't just for Jesus or his disciples. They were designed for you and me, living in our fast-paced, pressure-filled world. Think about your own life. How often do you face unexpected challenges without proper preparation? How many times have you reacted to situations only to wish you had responded differently? The beauty of these practices lies in their simplicity and adaptability. You don't need special equipment or extensive training. You need commitment and consistency. Start with just 15 minutes of morning preparation. Take brief pauses during challenging moments. End your day with reflection and renewal. Let me share something remarkable. I've seen these principles transform lives across all walks of life. From CEOs managing corporate crises to parents handling family challenges. From students facing exam pressure to individuals battling personal demons. These practices work because they address both the spiritual and practical aspects of our struggles. But remember, this isn't about perfect execution. It's about progressive implementation. Jesus knew we wouldn't get it right every time. That's why he emphasized grace in the process. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. As powerful as these practical applications are, they become even more effective when combined with spiritual resilience. In our next section, we'll explore how to build that resilience, but first, I want to hear from you. If you've ever experienced a moment where taking a pause before reacting changed the outcome of a situation, type pause in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. You see, we're not just learning ancient wisdom. We're part of a community sharing in this journey together. And as we move forward, you'll discover how these practical steps, combined with spiritual strength, create an unshakable foundation for overcoming any difficulty. Stay with me, because what comes next could be the missing piece you've been searching for. Part 4. Real-life transformation. Have you ever wondered what true transformation looks like in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds? What happens when ancient biblical wisdom meets modern-day challenges? Can the teachings of Jesus really transform lives in our complex, fast-paced world? Transform lives in our complex, fast-paced world. Let me share with you a remarkable story that bridges thousands of years of wisdom with contemporary reality. It's the story of Sarah Matthews, a single mother from Brooklyn who found herself at the edge of despair in 2023. But before we dive into Sarah's story, we need to understand a powerful parallel from biblical times. In the ancient city of Capernaum, there was a woman who had suffered from a bleeding condition for 12 years. The Gospel of Mark tells us she had spent all she had on physicians, yet only grew worse. Like many of us today, she had tried every conventional solution, exhausted every resource, and still found no relief. Now, let's return to Sarah. Working 2 jobs while raising 3 children, she found herself drowning in medical bills after her youngest son was diagnosed with a rare condition. Her savings were depleted, creditors were calling daily, and her faith was hanging by a thread. I felt like I was living that bleeding woman's story, Sarah recalls, her voice trembling as she shares her testimony. But here's where the transformation begins. Just as the woman in the Bible heard about Jesus and pushed through the crowd to touch his garment, Sarah discovered the principles we've been discussing in this video. She began applying Jesus' teachings about persistent faith, particularly the principle found in Mark 11:24. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Sarah's transformation didn't happen overnight. It began with small steps of faith. She started waking up an hour earlier each day for prayer and meditation on God's Word. Instead of letting anxiety control her thoughts, she began declaring God's promises over her situation. Her behavior shifted from reactive to proactive, from victim to victor. The parallel with the biblical account grows even more striking. Just as the bleeding woman's faith made her well instantly, Sarah's consistent application of these spiritual principles began producing tangible results. unexpected call came from a medical research program that accepted her son into a fully funded treatment study. A former colleague offered her a better paying position with flexible hours. One by one, the pieces started falling into place, but the most profound change wasn't in her circumstances, it was in her spirit. I learned that Jesus' teachings weren't just historical events, Sarah explains. They're a blueprint for overcoming any difficulty we face today. Today, Sarah's story has become a testimony that's inspired hundreds in her community. Her son's health has improved significantly, her financial situation has stabilized, and most importantly, her faith has grown stronger than ever. She now leads a support group for other parents facing similar challenges, sharing the very principles we're discussing today. This modern-day miracle mirrors countless transformations throughout history, from biblical times to the present day. It demonstrates that the power of Jesus' teachings transcends time, culture, and circumstance. The same principles that worked in ancient Jerusalem are still transforming lives in New York City today. What makes these transformations possible? It's the timeless truth that Jesus' teachings aren't just religious doctrine. They're practical principles for overcoming life's greatest challenges. When we apply them with faith and persistence, they work just as powerfully today as they did 2,000 years ago. But Sarah's story isn't unique. As we continue, you'll discover how these same principles can work in your life, regardless of what challenge you're facing. If Sarah's story resonates with your own journey, or if you're seeking this kind of transformation in your life, write "transform" in the comments below. Your story of victory might be just beginning. Remember, every testimony we've discussed started with a single step of faith. Are you ready to take yours? Part 5. Activation and Commitment. Have you ever wondered what truly happens when we fully commit to God's plan? What transformative power lies in that moment of complete surrender? And why do some people experience breakthrough while others seem stuck in their struggles? Let me share with you a powerful story from the Bible that illustrates the incredible impact of true commitment and activation of faith. It's the story of Joshua at Jericho. But there's a crucial detail that many overlook. Picture this. Joshua, standing before the mighty walls of Jericho, faced what seemed like an impossible situation. These weren't just any walls. Historians tell us they were so thick that chariots could race along the top. The city was completely sealed, appearing utterly impenetrable. Can you imagine the weight of responsibility on Joshua's shoulders? The entire nation of Israel was watching, waiting to see if their new leader could fill Moses' enormous shoes. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. Before God gave Joshua the unusual battle strategy of marching around the walls, there was a pivotal moment that changed everything. Joshua 5:13-15 tells us that Joshua encountered the commander of the Lord's army. What's remarkable isn't just the encounter itself, but Joshua's response. When faced with this divine messenger, Joshua did something extraordinary. He fell face down in complete surrender, but it wasn't just a physical posture. It was a spiritual positioning. He asked, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" This wasn't just polite deference. It was total activation of faith and absolute commitment to whatever God would command. Think about it. Before the walls fell, before the miracle manifested, before the victory was won, there was this crucial moment of surrender and activation. Joshua didn't know the battle plan yet. He didn't know God would ask him to do something that would seem foolish to military strategists. But his commitment came before the revelation. This is where many of us miss our breakthrough. We want to see the walls fall first, then commit. We want to understand the strategy first, then surrender. But true activation of faith works in reverse. Commitment precedes comprehension. Let me break this down practically for you. Just as Joshua's commitment activated divine intervention, Your commitment today can unlock supernatural power in your situation, but it requires three specific elements. First, there's the surrender principle. This isn't about giving up, it's about giving over. It's releasing our grip on how we think things should work out. When Joshua fell face down, he was symbolically laying down his military expertise, his leadership reputation, and his personal ideas about battle strategy. Second, we see the activation protocol. Notice that Joshua didn't just acknowledge the divine presence. He engaged with it. He asked, "What message does my Lord have?" This is active faith. Not passive acceptance, but dynamic engagement with God's presence. Not passive acceptance, but dynamic engagement. Finally, there's the commitment catalyst. Joshua's words, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" weren't just polite words. They were a covenant of obedience before knowing the command. This is where real power is released. So what does this mean for you today? Perhaps you're facing your own Jericho, a situation that seems impossible to overcome. Maybe it's a financial wall, a health barrier, or a relationship that seems beyond repair. The principle remains the same. Activation precedes manifestation. I want you to do something powerful right now. Just as Joshua had his moment of commitment before the walls fell, this is your moment. If you're ready to move from passive belief to active faith, from spectator to participant in your miracle, type "activate" in the comments below. This isn't just about typing a word, it's about marking a moment. It's your declaration that, like Joshua, you're positioning yourself for divine intervention. You're saying, "God, before I see the solution, I commit to your plan." Remember, the walls of Jericho didn't fall the moment Joshua surrendered, but that surrender set in motion a chain of events that led to one of the most spectacular victories in biblical history. Your commitment today could be the catalyst that begins your breakthrough story. Conclusion: your journey begins. As we reach the end of our journey together today, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. Think about where you were when this message began and where you are now. Feel the shift in your perspective, the awakening of hope within your spirit. Throughout this message, we've uncovered powerful truths that Jesus taught about overcoming life's challenges. We've seen how faith isn't just a concept, but a living force that can transform your most difficult circumstances. We've learned that prayer isn't merely speaking words, but engaging in warfare that changes realities. But here's what I want you to remember most. Your current challenge isn't your final chapter. Just as we saw in the stories of Joseph, David, and countless others, God specializes in turning obstacles into opportunities, pain into purpose, and trials into triumph. The question now isn't whether these principles work. History has proven their power. The real question is, will you take the step to apply them in your life? Will you choose to see your difficulties through the lens of faith rather than fear? This isn't just about surviving your current battle. It's about embracing a new way of living where every challenge becomes a stepping stone to greater victory. You're not just learning strategies. You're inheriting wisdom that has transformed lives for generations. I believe God brought you to this message today for a reason. Perhaps you're facing a situation that seems impossible. Maybe you've been praying for breakthrough and wondering if change is possible. Let me tell you with complete conviction, your story isn't over. In fact, it might be just beginning. If this message has spoken to your heart, I want you to do something bold right now. Share your story in the comments below. Type "new chapter" if you're ready to apply these principles in your life. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to read today to find their courage. Remember, we're in this together. This community is here to support and pray for one another. Every time you engage, whether through likes, comments, or sharing this message, you're helping spread hope to someone who desperately needs it. Before you leave, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We have more powerful messages coming that you won't want to miss. Each week we dive deep into God's Word to find answers for life's biggest challenges. Thank you for allowing me to share these truths with you today. I believe that months from now you'll look back on this moment as a turning point in your journey. The principles you've learned today aren't just information. They're keys to unlock your victory. May God strengthen you, guide you, and reveal Himself to you in powerful ways as you apply these truths. Until next time, remember, with God, nothing is impossible. Let's pray together one final time.